The communist government in North Korea suppresses human rights and doesn't allow other political parties or organizations. The country fought a war with South Korea in the 1950s and tensions have remained high ever since. There have been some positive developments in recent years, however. In 2018, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and South Korean President Moon Jae-in held a historic summit, which led to a series of diplomatic engagements and efforts to improve relations. This resulted in the 2018 Winter Olympics being jointly hosted by the two Koreas and the establishment of a liaison office in the North Korean city of Kaesong. The two nations have, however, always been involved in a constant radio war, with each sponsoring programs directed to the other. In the next few videos, we'll be looking at shortwave radio either side of the DMZ, not only state-backed, but stations run by defectors of North Korea. A cluster of stations, some run by North Korean defectors, have come and gone in the last few years. They've each received grants from the NED for as much as $200,000 in 2008 and $150,000 in 2009, according to NED annual reports. These stations became an important source on reporting on North Korea for the Western media. These outlets have also broken a number of stories, such as the 2010 sabotage of a train headed for North Korea from China. Radio Free Chosun appeared on the air in 2005. It was limited to broadcasting 30 minutes daily, but went on to broadcast for 3 hours a day in Korean. It could be heard from 1200 to 1300 hours on 15720 kHz, as well as 1500 to 1600 hours on 11560 kHz and 2000 to 2100 hours on 7505 kHz. Funded in part by the National Endowment for Democracy, the station appeared to deliver the news of the outside world and inform citizens about the nature and actions of the regime in control of North Korea. Radio Free Chosun transmitted from the large transmitting station at Tashkent in Uzbekistan, and Lee Kwang-baek was the director. The station used to send EQSL cards and seemed to disappear in 2014. Free North Korea Radio came on the air 1 year earlier than Radio Free Chosun. Established in 2004 by North Korean defectors, the Seoul-based radio station broadcast news and information, true history and hope into North Korea. The founder of Free North Korea Radio, Kim Seong-min, is also a defector. A former propagandist for the North Korean army, Kim says he collected an illegal radio on one of his patrols. He was curious, so he tuned into the South Korean broadcast. The program centered on the leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-il. He says it was meant to dispel the myths surrounding the leader, including the story of Kim Jong-il's birth. North Koreans were taught to believe that Kim Jong-il was born on Mount Paekdu, considered sacred in Korean history, but the radio program Kim heard that day said that Kim Jong-il was born in the Soviet Union. Kim started to doubt everything he was taught to believe, and the more he listened, the more he was convinced that he had to leave the country. The station's mission is to bring about a peaceful transition from dictatorship to democracy in the Korean peninsula by giving voice to North Korean defectors. Programming centers on stories of the outside world, including general news and information of relevance to North Koreans, but also the personal perspectives of defectors recounting their experiences and difficulties in escape. The station broadcasts into North Korea every morning and every evening. Free North Korea Radio has consistently ranked in the most popular single hour of broadcasting to North Korea, according to surveys of escapees from the country. North Korea Reform Radio was started by a defector who used his life savings to get the station going. Kim Seung-chul, president of North Korea Reform Radio, defected from North Korea in 1993 when he'd been working as a logger in Russia. The station broadcast news and documentaries as well as programs to deter brainwashing amongst North Korean youths and drive the message of reunification. North Korea Reform Radio also makes documentaries which are stored on micro SD cards or USB drives and sent into North Korea. Kim Seung-chul estimates that about 1.5 million people listen to North Korea Reform Radio, people who won't be deterred and keep on finding ingenious new hiding places for their radios, including in their potato patches or kimchi storage pots. The station transmits on 7590 kHz between 1400 and 1500 hours and 2000 to 2100 hours from a 100 kilowatt transmitter site in Tashkent, Uzbekistan. Open Radio for North Korea used shortwave radio to get their messages across the border. It broadcast 2 programs via shortwave each day, one from 9:30 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. local time via the transmitter in Tashkent, and a second from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. local time via a transmitter in Dushanbe in Tajikistan. Both were quite some distance from North Korea but could service the country thanks to the way that shortwave radio signals propagate at night time. Programs included soap operas, and the station welcomed citizen participation. It broadcast to promote the interest of human rights in North Korea. Programming also included the Free Korean Central Broadcasting Station produced by the Union for Korean Democratization organization. In 2014, it suspended its shortwave broadcasting after a grant from the US government used to pay for the transmissions apparently ended. What we've covered so far are defector-run stations, but there's another I thought I'd include that exists for a far more sinister reason. There's a radio station known as Shiokaze or Sea Breeze. Broadcast began in October 2005 with programming for the Investigation Commission on Missing Japanese People in North Korea. Shiokaze's target listeners are abductees in North Korea as well as average North Korean citizens. Shiokaze sends information into North Korea to allow abductees to understand that rescue efforts are underway in Japan and that they shouldn't give up hope of returning home. Shiokaze tells average North Koreans to provide information to the outside world that would be helpful in solving the abduction issue because such a solution would be to the advantage of those living in North Korea. Programming includes news pertaining to North Korea delivered in both Korean and Japanese, as well as the reading out of names in both Korean and Japanese of Japanese abductees identified by the government of Japan and missing persons for whom the possibility of abduction by North Korea cannot be ruled out. The station also sends messages from family members of abductees and missing persons possibly in North Korea. Open Radio for North Korea Radio Reform, Free North Korea Radio, and Radio Free Chosun joined forces in 2012 to form a new association of broadcasters whose purpose was to prompt change in North Korea. The 4 private radio broadcasters launched the Association of Broadcasters for North Korea, announcing their intention to lead the way in pushing the North Korean authorities towards reform and opening by providing greater freedom of information for the ordinary North Korean people. All of these stations have been subject to various types of jamming signals. An investigation conducted by the Japanese government revealed that the jamming signals are being transmitted from Pyongyang in North Korea. The stations noted that the jamming of their broadcasts had gotten worse since the Kim Jong-un regime came to power and said that the sound of more than 2 jammers could often be heard, explaining the increased discharge of jamming signals. Stay tuned for the next installment where we'll be taking a look at the clandestine radio war either side of the Korean DMZ.